area control, turn order selections like never before. Eriantys coming up.
Hi, it's Tarrant.
And Stella from Meeple University. Welcome back to our reviews Should You Play. Today we are going to talk about Eriantys, and this is the game that is, I believe at the time of filming, is coming out very soon, I think around Essen time, don't quote me on that. So we're going to talk about how it plays, overview of the game, and then we're going to share you what we think of it.
Yes. This is the setup here for Eriantys. But really, before we get into Eriantys, just a little bit of the history on this game. It's not a brand new game. It's a re-implementation with a few tweaks and updates, to a game that was first released in the year 2000. So it's a 20-year-old game. 21-year-old game. It can drink now. And it originally came out under the name Carolus Magnus. And it was a nominee for the Spiel des Jahres in the year that it came out. So it has a very good pedigree in that way. And as we said, it has been updated a little bit. We won't cover how it's been updated. We'll just talk about it from scratch, as if it were a new game. So this is the area that we're dealing with in Eriantys. And there are 12 floating islands.
Because we are students. We have school, magical school.
Yes, we have these magical schools, and we've got these students here. And the students can either go into the dining halls of our schools, or they can go out onto the floating islands. And the aim of the game is to get all of your towers out onto these floating islands by controlling the students that are on them. And so in a given round, you'll start by doing a turn order selection. So you each have cards ranging in number between 1 and 10. And in turn order from the previous round, you'll choose one of your cards. And whoever plays the lower number in a two-player game, lowest number in a higher player count, gets to go first in the round. And you're not allowed to play a tied card unless there's no other option. Then when it comes to your turn, you have 7 students at your disposal, and you have to move 3 of them. And you can either move them into your dining room, or you can move them onto islands. And after you've moved your 3, you check to see whether you hold the majority on any one colour in your dining room. And whoever holds the majority on a given colour gains the professor of that colour. And it follows you've got to exceed somebody to take it away from them. So for either of these colours, Stella would now need to put 2 in her dining hall in order to take it from me.
2 yellow or, well, two yellow to get your yellow professor.
Yeah, yellow professor. After that, you move the Mother Nature pawn around the board, and you can move it up to the number that's shown in the top right corner. So the earlier you go in turn order, the less movement range you have.
Like this one, for example, 1. You can only move 1.
All the way up to 10, where you can move 5.
Okay.
And so here I would move 1, and then you would count up who has the most influence on that island. So there's 1 pink student. I hold the pink professor. Therefore, I have 1 influence. Stella has none because there's nothing there, and then so I would claim it with my tower. Then I would take one of the 2 available sets of 3 new students.
It's drafting part of it.
Yep. Add that to my hall, and then it would be Stella's turn. She would do that same sequence of steps, but later in turn order. So she'll move from where it is. She'll get whatever's left out of these. But it's fundamentally the same. It's move 3 of these either onto the dining room or out onto the islands. As the game goes on, so I'll just randomly select a few of these from the bag, and just for the demonstration. So there's a couple of blues here. Let's say Stella had grabbed the blue one and Mother Nature had done a lap. We only resolve where Mother Nature lands, and if we were to look at this here, my tower counts for an influence as well. So I would have 2 influence, Stella would have had 2, and I still keep that tower. But if Stella had flipped the pink professor by getting a couple of pink students in here, then it would be 3-1, and Stella would claim...
If I have students here.
Yes, students there would claim it away from me. The other thing that will happen as the game goes on is that when there are towers on adjacent islands, those islands fuse together and become one larger island. So now instead of 2 islands, let's pretend I've got the blue professor. Instead of being 2 islands where I hold a 2-0 influence advantage on each, it becomes one big island where I hold a 4-0 advantage. And so as the game goes on, you're trying to fuse islands where it suits you best. You're trying to flip the strategic professors and ultimately trying to get all of your towers out onto the board. And that's really the game. The first player to get all towers onto the board, or whoever has the most when all the cards or students are gone, wins the game.
So maximum 10 rounds.
Yes. The game plays at 3 players, where everyone there's slightly different numbers of tokens and things to what I just went through, but you'll have 6 towers, and once again, whoever gets the most out first wins. And the 4-player game is a 2 versus 2 team game where you control professors on your own, but you control islands as a team, and you're trying to be the team that gets there first.
It feels different than 2 players. Let's talk about
Yes.
the feeling of this game. So this game is a wow for us. Let's just say that. Spoilers alert. A wow for us. It's so far it's a good contender for top 10 games of 2021. I'll let you say your thing first, Tarrant.
Yeah, no, I really think this is a very, very interesting game. It works really well at 2 players. It works really well in 4-player team. We haven't tried it at 3 yet. We haven't had that opportunity, but it's, the early game feels really patient. There's not very much going on the board. You're sort of jostling for professors. You're trying to get a couple of mini islands together, and then it all becomes looking at the turn order draft. I always like a turn order draft. It's one of my favorite.
I know. It's like mini rails.
Yeah, and really pretty much any game where part of your decision influences turn order.
For the next round.
Yeah, because here you're getting turn order. You're working out how far you can move. You're working out who drafts first. And there's a lot of things that are really interesting there, and it impacts you later on in the game. So that's a mechanic I always like. And just the way you've got enough information to make really interesting decisions.
The draft is becoming, sometimes the draft is very important, and that's why you want to go first, because you want to make sure that your opponents do not have certain student colors.
Yep. Yeah, towards the mid-end of the game, often it's all about you turn order solely to get the students that you need, or that you need to keep away from your opponents for the next one.
It's somewhat important, I think. I mean, it's important, but maybe that's why you lost. I mean, I'd just like to remind Tarrant that he lost some of the games because he mostly win.
No, I got beaten fair and square. I set up quite badly last time we played. Yeah. But it's just, I find it very interesting, and I do really enjoy the decision space that this game brings for quite simple rules.
It is very tight. Things like, do you want to put it on here for majority on the professor, or do you want to put it on board? You have to balance it really well. You can't probably do one or the other. And you also need to see what other people have. If they have, the color on the side like this one, Tarrant knows by looking at this that I can do something good with green. I can just take away from him or something, or I can put it on the board if I want to.
Yeah, and there's 2 more greens sitting there that in my example I just left for you, so you can pretty much sweep green and start building up islands without me really having much I can do about it. But you're now so stuck on green that I can start building the other colours up, knowing that it's going to take you a few turns to even have the chance to take it away from me.
That makes it really good. I feel it's a little bit like chess-ish without being chess, but it's very strategic. Every single decision matters, I think, or almost.
Yeah, and I feel it has a similar build-up as well, because the early game feels really like,
There's nothing
if you're
much
not
of
an
it.
expert chess player, it's
Yeah.
just like, hey, I'm moving pawns around. These pieces are useless. And it's kind of like the early gamer is like, oh, I'm getting a tower on a single island that neither of us has more than one student on. There, this doesn't matter. But if you position it properly, it has a real impact on the end of the game. And the only real bit of randomness is that you don't know whether the students that are going to come out in a given round suit you or not.
I think that's actually a good thing, because if everything is out there, it's probably a puzzle, not a game, right? We had the different discussion about puzzle versus game.
Yeah, I mean, with perfect information, it can be it gets even more thinky, I guess, if
Yeah,
you knew
yeah,
what was
actually,
coming
yeah.
2 turns out. But
This is
I
already
think
really
it's-
thinky, I think.
yeah,
The rules is very simple. It's that type of game. The rules are very simple, but the strategy is very deep.
yep. The game also has one additional mechanic in the expert game. This is called the characters. So they're rule-breaking characters. You choose 3 of them at the start of the game. You place them down on the table, like so. They each have a coin cost in the top left corner, and every time you get your 3rd, 6th, or 9th student on a given row, you get a coin. And then you can, once per turn, spend coins to use the effect. And so here it would let you move Mother Nature an extra couple of spaces. And each time someone uses one of these, the cost goes up by 1 for the rest of the game.
Wow.
So there are some
Amazing.
there are some expensive ones here that start really powerful. There are some that will build up to it. But they just give you these little extra bits of flexibility you've got to think about when you're making your turn order choice ultimately.
So it's more generalization on the colors in order to activate that to get the coins.
Yes, that too.
So you get 1 coin when you fill up all the board?
You get 1 each time you cover a coin on your board.
Oh, right, okay. So it doesn't really matter then. You just like go here and here you get 3 coins. You don't have to go like that.
Correct.
That's very interesting. Yeah.
I think the only negative thing that I would say about this game is that the theme is all over the shop. I can't really
The abstract theme.
link my mind into this floating islands, Mother Nature, schools, professors. It's all that is a bit of a jumble to me. So in my mind, it's kind of an abstract game.
Yeah.
And even
It
these
is an abstract game, essentially.
Yep.
I think,
these islands are pretty big as well. They take a lot of table space up. So that bit of it, it doesn't stick in my mind that well, but it doesn't detract from the gameplay, which is really good.
so considering that the theme is just okay for you, you still think it's a very good game. So that must be a good, that's coming from you, especially if you've seen our previous reviews. Tarrant is very tight on opinions. So yeah, that's a big praise. So Eriantys is, I believe, is coming up soon. I would highly recommend. Should you play, you decide for yourself though. Don't listen to us. Just decide if this is the game for you. I don't think there is a solo mode.
No, there wouldn't be a
Yeah,
solo mode here. It's 2, 3, or 2 versus 2.
or 4 basically. Yeah.
Yes, you can't play 4 individually. It has to be 2 versus 2.
I do agree with the turn order. I mean, you want to go early, but then you can't really move faster. And then if you go 1 and then you get to play the first card the next turn, and it potentially opponent can beat you and then trying to get ahead of you if possible. And then not to mention that you only have one number each. So your opponent would, okay, like you can say, I'll play this number, so you won't be able to play this number. So in the future run, you can't do this. And it's very deep. They're very deep, I think.
Yeah, you play your 1 early, and your opponent knows that they can pick the best opportunity to go first in turn order, and you can't do anything about it.
So be careful to play number 1 when you really need it. That's just part of the strategies. And then this, that's a lot of them. It's very amazing.
As you say, it is... I don't know everything about Carolus Magnus. I think there were more islands. I think the turn order mode was a little bit different.
Yeah.
But I don't know the full details. I just know that this one works really nicely.
So have you actually played, maybe you have played Carolus Magnus. How different the rule from this one from Eriantys? Let us know in the comments. Or do you think this is the game for you or not? Or maybe there's a game that is similar to this. Let us know as well in the comments, because we'd like to know. So we do videos like this, like a review, or we do have to play Stella short and sweet live playthrough over on the weekend. We have a fun chat going on as well there, so hopefully you can join us one day. And it will help us if you can please hit the like button.
Like button.
Thank you, Tarrant. And subscribe to us.
Yes.
I always say this thing. It's your turn now.
Subscribe. Meeple Corner. You can hit that.
Meeple Corner.
Stella's on Instagram. So do check her out.
Hit the bell. Subscribe.
Bell as well, yeah, because then you'll know when we've got new videos. Leave comments.
What else, Tarrant?
I mentioned Instagram.
You did, like
I forgot what the handle was. Meeple_uni.
University. It'll pop up in the screen anyway.
Yep, cool. See?
I usually
This
just
is why I don't do it.
you do it. It's like a tag.
This is why I teach the games.
Okay,
And you
fine.
talk about the channel.
Wow, if you say so, fine. Okay, yeah. So do all that what Tarrant said, please. That will really help us, and hopefully we will see you again next time. Bye.